This episode is brought to you by Generate Solutions, your go-to AI experts specializing in empowering commercial real estate companies and environmental consulting firms. As AI is quickly transforming industries and enhancing efficiency, it is important you don't let your business fall behind. At Generate Solutions, we streamline workflows and automate tasks by creating custom AI agents tailored specifically to your business needs. Interested in taking your operations to the next level with AI? Email mfiorante@generatesolutions.com or find us directly on LinkedIn by clicking the link in the bio. On to our episode.
Welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna, and today it brings me great pleasure to bring in a young gentleman that has popular here for a while, and he's had this progression of since about 2015. He'll correct me on the date if I'm wrong, but we are visiting today with Michael Cerami, is the editor-in-chief of Bleacher Nation and been covering the Chicago Cubs for Bleacher Nation as a part-time contributor starting in 2015. 1 year later, he joined Bleacher Nation covering the Chicago Cubs in Major League Baseball. Today, Michael runs Bleacher Nation, contributing as the Cubs MLB as an editor, all the section of the site, including the Chicago Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, as well as the MLB, the NBA, NHL, and NFL. To remind our viewers of this who are going to be watching this, in 2019, Michael was the co-host of NBC's Chicago Cubs post-game show Outside the Ivy. That's when I first realized that a guy from my neighborhood was doing that. In 2026, he became published author, releasing a Cubs book that we're going to talk about today, My First Trip to the Bleachers, Michael's book. So we're going to talk about that. An exciting young man from my neighborhood and went to Conant High School and is a graduate of University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Without further ado, Michael, because I could go on and talk about you and be proud of your accomplishments, what's going on with you, young man? And tell me something good.
No, I mean, hey, I'm excited to be here. Well, like you said before we started recording, we've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm glad we finally got together. And yeah, not a bad time after I got my first book published, and that's exciting. Yeah, I got a copy right here too, if you're looking.
Yeah, great. I mean, just fantastic. Yeah, and we're going to talk about My First Trip to the Bleachers, written by Michael, and of course, some great illustration by Nora Reuter. Michael, how does it start for you? This thing for the love of what you have, of course, for this the sports. This North Side team, and of course, did you like it from the incept? Because for you to write this first book, something triggered you as a young man, like it triggered some people in my family. What was it for you?
Yeah, well, so growing up, I was never, star athlete, played a lot of sports, tried every single sport under the sun. But baseball was always the one I sort of came back to. My neighborhood, I grew up in what is an increasingly lost, subsection of life. We had a tiny neighborhood with 30 houses. I'd say 25 houses had multiple kids, and the kids were from like a year or two younger than me to my brother's age. There was like 20 kids. So we played baseball every day of the summer. It was straight out of the sandlot. I mean, it was, and honestly, we still get together once a year and go back there and play in the same court. And, so that's kind of how it started, the love of baseball, the love of the Cubs specifically. Definitely memorable, the Sammy Sosa home run in 98. That was sort of my first memories of following the Cubs. 2003, when they went to the playoffs, was when I first became just wholly obsessed. But even being a Cubs fan in general kind of started with my family and my grandmother, who came over from Italy. She always used to remind us, she was a huge Cubs fan, gigantic Cubs fan, convinced Joe Madden was drinking wine in the dugout, called me about it every day. She says she learned English when she came over from Italy by listening to Cubs games on the radio. And so, it's that ingrained in my DNA. so, was never a star baseball player or anything to that effect, but that's that combination of the family, origin story, the big home run chase in 98, the playoffs in 2003, and then my friends growing up just constantly playing baseball. It all sort of merged into this obsession that has become my personal and professional life.
Yeah, unbelievable. And you know what? Thank you for breaking it down the way you did, because, it gave me goosebumps, because it's that first impression and how you broke it down, what grandma said. And of course, the 98 season with Sosa and McGuire going at it tooth and nail every day. And of course, that 2003 season, which I still scratch my head about. And I'm still looking for Bartman, at this point, but I've never gotten over it.
No, I feel you. That was the first year I remember the Cubs made me mad. That was the first, because of how it ended, and obviously that the chase, I think, is what fuels so many of us. Feeling close, feeling upset, and getting down after being, high. You're like, I need to get back to the top of that mountaintop again. And that's kind of what is like fueling fandom. And I think for Cubs fans specifically, until 2016, we had more fuel than anybody.
I mean, that rigorous, you really believe in it. The fan base, when they say, wait till next year, that line, if I was with the Texas Rangers, or if I was with, the Oakland Athletics, it always reminds me of the Cubs. So you, of course, go on. Did you have some journalism thing in high school? Did you do journalism in high school? Did you think you were going to be there? Was there a progression with you before you went to Urbana?
No, not really. Not in high school. And I didn't study journalism in college either. I was a econ major and a poli-sci major, double major. And we did a lot of writing in those subjects. Like all of it was less homework or tests and more, essays and long form writing. So I think I got a little bit of a taste then. But I had no concept at all of going into this field. My junior year, I had an internship up in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was living with a couple strangers, like you do when you're 20 years old and have no cares in the world. Right. And I started a website that was like rating and reviewing movies. I created it myself just as the way to pass the time. And so I was writing a little bit then just on my own, but that's when Bleacher Nation, a couple years later, I graduated college, got a job as a regular old consultant, and had been reading this site, Bleacher Nation, which was founded by my now business partner, Brett. He was the only writer there, but they were a Cubs blog at a time when Cubs blogs were all blogs were new and sort of upcoming. And so I was obsessed with it. I read it every day. While I was working as a consultant, that job had me traveling Monday through Thursday every single week. That was just the nature of the job. It was 100% travel. And so I had a lot of nights just alone in hotel rooms across the country, not doing much. So when they put up a help wanted sign for a weeknight part-time contributor in 2015, January, I applied, did my best to fumble my way through interviews and mock articles to get hired, got hired, and started writing part-time while I had my full-time job still. So I did that for a year. And eventually I approached Brett, again, the founder of the company, and said, hey, look, I'm looking to do this full-time. I want to quit my job. Are you prepared to bring me on in that capacity? He wasn't sure at first what we were going to do. But the fact that I had some business background made things make a little bit more sense. So when I started it right away, my first year, although the focus had definitely been primarily on writing and covering the team, I was also starting to get intros into the back end of the site, how the things actually operated, the business side, or those relationships. And the idea eventually was that I was going to become a partner in the company with Brett. So over the next several years, I became more ingrained in the company. We started hiring more writers. I became a partner, and Brett and I were running this company. And what happened was a few things. One, sports betting sort of took off, and that was able to help us generate a lot more revenue for the company at the time. And we hired even more people and kept expanding. And then around 2022, I believe it was, Brett, who's 10 years older than I am, wanted to take a little bit of a step back from managing the company and the business. He's got 3 young kids, and he just wanted a little bit more free time. So we explored a sale of the company, and we found a great partner who then bought Bleacher Nation. And then at that point, Brett took a giant step down. He just is not a part-time Cubs contributor, but a lot less than he ever was before. And I took over running the entire site. We hired more people. We expanded. We have a dev team. We have this entire, the entire resources of this new company that bought us behind us to do a lot more things on the site than we were able to do before. So now Bleacher Nation has been, my baby for the last 3.5 years.
Wow.
Where it's just me running the show.
Michael, you had this foresight, innovation. We could do this, of course, with this backing, and now you've taken it to a different level, correct, in saying this?
Yeah, no, it's certainly expanded in a lot of ways we never could have done, on our own, because for the longest time, from 2015 to 2022, it was just Brett and I trying to manage a site that I don't know how many people realize. I mean, we had blown up. We had become an extremely popular Chicago sports website, among the biggest, certainly the biggest independently owned at the time. And so everything from fixing dev errors on the site or running payroll or HR requests was all Brett and I, all in between us watching 162 baseball games and covering it constantly. So we needed to offload some of that stuff anyway. And so this was sort of the natural fit for that. But I still write and cover the team every day, 24/7, 364. We take Christmas off. That's our only day off.
There's no double header on Christmas Eve. No, but I have to tell you, I didn't want to jump ahead this way, but like I've been watching this, like last night, the game last night. You write, where are these titles coming from? And these titles are that you're doing, like Matt Shaw walks and the Cubs walk it off in the 9th, the time this season. Pete Crow just hits for the cycle, and nothing of note happened after that. I mean, you're ingrained in doing this every day. I mean, like what's going to happen tonight, you'll be ready right after the game to do this, correct?
Yep, we write from morning till night. We like to think that we cover every possible thing for the teams that we cover. We cover every possible thing, from funny stuff that they post on Instagram to the most deep, analytical dives into the advanced metrics, to payroll constraints, trades, transactions.
Wow.
We want it to be so if you come to Bleacher Nation, you don't need to be going to 7 other sites to get the information you need about the Cubs. This is everything you need all in one spot.
Beautifully, because this is full time. We're not jumping around. And I have to tell you, as this gentleman that was, watching you, and I knew who you were. Don't get me bad because of my family background with your family background. But when you did Outside the Ivy, that was a comfortable post-game show after the game. Now, let me go back to this Outside the Ivy. Do you think Outside the Ivy would have lasted, of course, but then there was that transition where Comcast was not going to do Comcast Sports anymore, correct?
Yeah, that is ultimately where it would have ended, I suppose. But the actual issue was COVID. So we started in 2019. And they, the season was going. We did well. I think we did 38 shows that first year. It was super exciting. I mean, that's when I got to meet and become friends with David Kaplan, who's been just an awesome, awesome dude. I talk to him constantly. I have the funniest voicemails from him after the Cubs lose games. That's not just like a shtick he's doing on the radio. That's just who he is. He calls me at like midday. Your Cubs suck, Michael. What are you talking? Anyway, he cracks me up. So Frank Thomas, Ozzie Guillen, David DeJesus, all these guys that I just got thrown into the fire with and got to meet backstage, pick their brain, learn from them. And then what happens is we get picked up for the second season, COVID hits, and the whole world stops. And that was the end of the show permanently then. It's just how it happened. Now, again, a year and a half later, the Cubs switch over to Marquee, and, that probably would have been the end of it regardless. But I got that one awesome summer. That was just one of the cooler things I've ever done in my life. And I'm so glad to have had the opportunity.
You know what, Michael? Tell me how you feel about what I'm going to say about you. Because of Outside the Ivy, I feel okay. Who is Michael Cerami? You got noticed. And the reason why I feel you got noticed was there was a comfort zone. I mean, you could have asked you anything and you were answering it. It wasn't like this. Yeah, I think he was gonna make. You guys were like spot on, and it shows now with Bleacher Nation because you got to keep up on everything, and especially in our high-paced technology world. This is fantastic. So, you have enlightened me here today to tell me, wow, what goes into this, and this is not something where you're picking up the phone at 10 o'clock and saying, "Yeah, Cubs won. Okay, let me write something." It's not like that, right? You're
No,
watching
this
this.
is
Yeah.
this is a full-time personality now. I mean, I live on social media to constantly be reacting to everything that's going on, offering insight, offering takes, writing things up. I mean, I have to have a fully formed opinion and be able to communicate it effectively instantly. And that's probably, that's one of the things that's changed the most for me. The show definitely helped. Doing podcasts like this has definitely helped. At this point in my life, I've had so many interviews, so many conversations like this. When I first went on the radio, the very first time I did it was 2016, and it was like Cardinals, some St. Louis area Cardinals radio. They wanted to have a Cubs writer on, and it was like 4:45 a.m. So wasn't even my city, not my team, and it was before the sun rose. And I had a notebook full of notes of things that I was like, okay, if I could ask this, I'll say that, because I was so, and now I could forget that I have an interview. They call me up and I'm like, I'm ready to go, because I have to have this stuff locked and loaded at all times. And an injury update breaks, I need to be able to know, what injury happened, how long that typical injury takes for the guy to come back. Who are the options behind him? What's the impact on the rest of the season? Are there other teams that are impacted by this or downstream thing? It's just this constant tangled web of information that, all sports fans have to some degree or another, but being able to actually communicate the next step is what I like to think is my expertise in this subject matter area.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, today I've learned something, and I mean this. This is not some line to keep this interview going. This is in depth. This is in depth stuff. And like I say, you are so passionate about it that, I mean, I didn't know that all this went into it. It's not like, oh, yeah, Cerami's writing an article tonight, big to do. You're covering everything, and I learned about, all the other sports too. I got to ask you, how much, what do you think goes into this hourly 7 days a week? If you had to put a marker on
it, you
you get over to Sal and Stephanie's ever for dinner anymore, or what?
Yeah, of course. Can't anytime my mom's cooking, I'm there.
Yeah,
now I have two kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have two kids now too, which I'm sure we'll talk about when we get to the book too. But so going over to grandma's house is always she's Nanina in our house, but is always a welcome break for us because she takes over. No, in terms of hours, it's hard to even quantify. I mean, I'll work full days, 8 to 5:30, 6 o'clock or whatever, and then there's a 3-hour game at the end of the night. So, but here's the thing. Listen, it's something I learned a long time ago with this job in particular. I work from home, and that, a lot of people do now. When I started, not a lot of people did. Obviously, it changed again after COVID. But, if you sort of lean into the randomness of this job and the frequency of working, consistently throughout the week, including weekends, you also find more free time for yourself. And, I work at home. My son comes in, we can go play a quick game of pig in the backyard or whatever, playing basketball, doing anything. And then I get back to work. But I will put it this way. I don't go anywhere, without my laptop. I bring it everywhere I go, to dinner, it's always with me, because I've written articles places you couldn't even imagine. Everywhere around the world is constantly, because one of the other things that we have always, endeavored to provide is instant, reactions to things, instant takes. We're not waiting for multiple layers of red tape to get something published and out the door. So if something happens, sometimes I'm the one breaking the news, and I have, a trade that I know the Cubs are about to make. So now I have to balance breaking the news and then also immediately having an article written up contemplating that information and how it's going to impact things. So sometimes I might even have to sit on things for like a little bit, start writing a little bit, put it out there, and then say, okay, now that it's out there, because again, on social media, everything is immediate. Then I start writing up the article. So I've broken news while sitting on an airplane. I've broken news inside of a movie theater. I've left dinners to go write stuff in my car. Not tonight. Tonight is our 8-year anniversary. I will be leaving the laptop at home for this one while we go to dinner. But that's the gist of it. It's a full-time job, 7 days a week, but there's time in between. You just gotta lean into it. And then it doesn't feel like it's not like I'm stuck at the office all day. It's a different type of experience, and I'm very lucky to have it.
I got to tell you something. I hope when this comes out on YouTube and Spotify, people will see this, because this would, just that alone, motivates me at 66 years old to keep doing what I'm doing, because, you just can't wait for something to happen or assume that someone else is going to do it for you. Just the drive is unbelievable. I want to get to the book. And again, I want to tell our audience today we're visiting with Michael Cerami of Bleacher Nation, and just a phenomenal young man, and what he's accomplished here in the last 10, 11 years, just amazing. And he has written a first book written by Michael Cerami. It's My First Trip to the Bleachers. And now I'm finally going to want to ask him, why did you write this book? What motivated you for the title? And what is this book in regards to? I know it's that first impression of a child going to a game.
Yeah, no, of course. So I actually have a very specific answer for this. So, I would say the idea to write a book at all has always been something I kind of wanted to do. Obviously, I write all the time, so it's just something you think about, right? I'm sure every person who's written a movie script is like, one day I'll direct one or something. I don't know. But 3.5 years ago, we had our son Leo, and started reading him books every night like good parents do, and we read him a million books. And I slowly but surely was like, okay, I get the feel of these. I get what's going on in these books now. I don't think I would have been able to do it before having a child and actually reading 1,000 kids books in 2.5 years or whatever it was at the time. And so that was sort of gave me a little bit of confidence. But then it was like, well, what am I going to write? What am I going to write about? Had a couple ideas, reached out to a few publishers through some other people in the industry that I'm friends with, pitched them a couple ideas. They were like, well, not sure about this, not sure about that. Do you have another idea? And I kind of took a beat back and thought about it. And then it hit me. So you're familiar with Mr. Rogers, obviously, right? Everyone knows Mr. Rogers. There is a sort of a modern version of that on PBS called Daniel Tiger. It's literally Mr. Rogers. They like take his lessons, his stories, but they animated it, added a little bit of a stuff, but it is the same, moral background stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. One of the things that they teach on that show, which was a Mr. Rogers philosophy, is something that really worked well with our son Leo at the time. And it was, when you do something new, it helps to talk about what you'll do. So for us, the way that manifested in real life is we were going to take Leo to the dentist, or we were going to take him to the hospital, or we were going to go to the movie theater, this and that. We started finding songs or books or movies or shows or lessons that we can teach him about those experiences before he goes and has one. When you do that, these kids learn what to expect, sure, but it gives them confidence when they go into those events, which not only helps them, but also helps you as a parent, because they're in a better position to succeed, have fun, know what they're looking for, what they're doing. So I wanted to take Leo to Wrigley Field, of course. So I started looking for some Cubs books about going to Wrigley Field or, going to a baseball game. And you'd be shocked. There's really not a lot of stuff out there. And even the ones that are out there are like, ABC of Cubs or the history of the Cubs or baseball in general, which is not what I was trying to accomplish. I was taking him to Wrigley to see his first game. And even if there was some that were close in other respects, it was always about just the game. My book starts the morning he finds out he's going to get tickets to the game. And it's about being bored in the car on the way there. It's about being hungry at the game. It's about having to go pee. Every boy who's been to Wrigley Field knows the first time you see those troughs and you're like 7 years old and you got to go stand next to the hairiest, biggest dude and you got to stand next to him, your shoulder width with, his ass. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? Well, that's in the book too. And it's all of these things. It includes the Cubs losing the lead and the feeling of despair that comes along with that, the sense of community when you sing the 7th inning stretch. All of these things are in the book. And then I also identify the exact emotion or feeling by bolding it and coloring it on each page. So anytime there is something being experienced, it's called out. When I worked with the illustrator, who is awesome, we made sure that the faces the little boy was making matched the actual description of the events in that scene. So if they were scared, they're scared. And exactly, because kids are visual, right? So then you're also teaching vocabulary and emotional, intelligence to kids well before they realize it, all while preparing them to go to a Cubs game. And guess what? When I took my son to his first Cubs game, he pointed out about 50 things that were in the book that he saw. And he goes, "Oh, Dad, there's the marquee." He wouldn't have known what that was. He was excited to see it. He was excited to get nachos and the ivy, and why did they throw their home run ball back, the other team's ball?
Right,
like,
the other team.
All these things are part of it. And he was able to identify those, and we had a great time because of it, I think. And I hope a lot of people have the same experience.
Yeah, and here I like something that is about the book, and of course, in regards to what you just said, an excitement, a wonder, an emotional roller coaster of a day at a ballpark comes alive in this book, of course, but in the eyes of, say, your son and who's ever went to that game. That first impression will never go away. I just want to relate something, a 2-second thing. When my dad took me to the Chicago Stadium, 1969, listening to Blackhawk games on the radio, and then finally seeing the great Tony Esposito come out, it never left me. That first impression. So what you've done with this book, Michael, is just fantastic. And yes, you are right. There's nothing out there like that, because I kind of did my own little thing. I'm like, wow, what is this? And you have really caught the imagination. And I want to tell people to get and buy this book. It's worth every penny of it. And Michael, we could find this on Amazon and where else?
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon, online at Barnes & Noble online. You could go directly to the publisher, Triumph. It's in stores. Barnes & Noble has it. A lot of local bookstores have it. Anderson's Bookshop is a big one. I just did like a little signing meet and greet there. We're going to do a signing at the Elk Grove Public Library in August. They're going to bring out Clark the Cub's going to be there. My illustrator is going to be there. They're going to do a little presentation for the kids. They can color the pages of the book and stuff. It's going to be awesome. And honestly, it has been great. And I joke, and I even wrote this in like my, little bio at the end of the book. But when I started writing this book, I only had one child, and I wrote this whole book about taking my one son to the game. And the book itself is me, my wife and my son. Well, now I have a daughter, and she's already over a year old, and she got born while the book was in process. So now I need to write a second book, something about her.
Well, I can see a few more books in your future. Real quick, Mike, when did the book come out? In 26, of course.
Yeah, it came out April 7th. So we're only a few months in. It's been selling great. They sold out on Amazon in the pre-sale, and they had to order more. So they're all back up there now. So yeah, please go find one and
yeah,
buy one.
The color itself and the vividness, and like you said, and how everything is depicted. You did a tremendous job. And please, I will be in touch with you. I will come out to that Elk Grove Library. I am definitely going to be there that day to see this because this is fantastic. And again, just great work by you. All right, I know your time is valuable. You got things to do. We got a ball game coming up. You got to do some research. Who knows what's going to happen tonight at Wrigley? Maybe it'll be a tornado and they'll hit 30 homers. But anyway, all out of the park. But I got to ask you 5 questions and then say something about you at the end. Okay. This has been really a great thing for me because I know your family for many years. And of course, being a gentleman from my neighborhood here where I live here in Elk Grove, Schaumburg. Who are those early mentors? First question of the 5. Who are those early mentors? If it's mom and dad or somebody that just got you to be this person that, has this passion for what you're doing now. Name a couple.
Sure. I will. I'm not going to sidestep my mom and dad because my mom definitely always stressed the importance of reading and being smart and trying hard. That was a big part of what she impressed upon me growing up. My dad always very proactive, he's always the guy that everyone in my family, extended family, called whenever anything needed to be fixed or done, and it just was one of those things where it's like, yeah, you got to be a doer. You got to be someone that goes out there and do something. And then I would add that more recently, but again, probably started around outside the Ivy is David Kaplan. He's just become just this awesome guy who's been really nice to me. He's always helped me out, but more importantly, I think he's around your age. There's nobody that works harder or does more. It is insane. He is just constantly producing and starting his own thing or doing new things and finding time to stay in shape and all of this stuff. He's just the hardest worker, and all at the same time finds time to, help me out, go out of his way to be a good guy. Also happens to be a guy from the neighborhood. He used to go to my grandmother's restaurant and pass out his little leaflets of covering college basketball. He would go into the kitchen and talk to her. And so I kind of had that introduction, but we didn't know each other at all and I had never met him until 2019. Wow. Since then, he's been awesome. So he'd be the 3rd.
And who would forget that restaurant? I think it was called Bella Via Trattoria. Yes,
that's right.
Right, not too far from where my office is, but just great. And I'll touch on Grandma and Grandpa. Okay, we're going to get to know you a little bit better. What's a movie? Give me 2 that you can watch 200 times and not get bored. As soon as we get off the air, if you had nothing to do, because I know you don't have to cover anything today. It's your anniversary. Yeah. What is those 2 movies you can watch 200 times and not get bored?
Oh man, you're talking to the right guy. Movies are a big thing for me. But one of those forever movies is definitely Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. Thought those movies are great. My favorite style. And then I got to pick a horror movie because horror movies are like my actual go-to.
Wasn't expecting this, Mike. Horror movie.
That's my true true non-baseball passion in life. I even do a horror movie fest every year with my friends where I write a whole script and I do this intro, weaving the movies together. It's a whole thing. Anyway, there's a lot of great ones. I'll probably say one that's going to be on this year's list is the original Evil Dead. I think it's 1981. Just one of my favorite classic movies. But Raiders of the Lost Ark is I've seen it 80,000 times. I cannot wait. I have the poster in my basement until my son is old enough to watch it with me because I'm like chomping at the bit.
We're talking Raiders. We're talking Harrison Ford, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Harrison. Wow, great movie. And just, I remember getting a surround sound stereo many years ago. I don't want to date myself. I'm old as it is, but I remember just the sound and the graphics and it was just crazy. I had to watch that movie. So great one. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here quick, but this is a guy I can't put on the spot quick because you've seen so many of these ball players since '98. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. You got 1 starter and 1 reliever. put your best 9 Chicago Cubs on the field right now, Michael Cerami. That you're the coach. We're in a game 7 against the White Sox in October, but your best top 9. Putting you really on the spot now, baby.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna forget people because of how it is. So we're gonna go first base. We're gonna go with Derek Lee.
Okay, number 25.
Because that 2005 season was incredible, and he was an absolute superstar. Second base, I'm gonna go with a little bit of an odd one here because, you could go Javi Baez, but he also played some short. I'm going to go with Ben Zobrist for the type of plate discipline and approach he gave the Cubs.
You're putting him at second base, correct? You're putting him at second?
Second base, yep.
Your time, okay.
Third base, I'm going to go with Aramis Ramirez, which was my favorite third baseman on the Cubs to watch. He was just incredible. Shortstop, who are we going to go with? Addison Russell's defense was great, but the bat fell way off. I'm going to give it to Javi. Peak Javi at short was one of the most fun players to watch, and you couldn't do anything else. Left field, let's go with Alfonso Soriano. No one got on a heater quite like that guy. This is supposed to be like post 2000, right? Or am I doing it all the time? Because I'm skipping all the Hall of Famers and stuff. I hope that is what you were going for there.
No,
obviously, otherwise you got to get Ernie Banks and Ron Santo and Dawson and all those guys, of course. I'll try to keep it 2000 and later just for the sake of it.
You're doing great.
Center field, guess what? I'm going Pete Henry Crow Armstrong. He is the best defensive center fielder the Cubs have ever had. And as we saw last season, 30-30 guy, and he's on pace for 30-30 again this year. He had a slow start. It was like 2 weeks. He is a superstar. You could book that. Quote me on it. I don't care what anyone says.
You got it.
Right field, boy. Well, and it's funny. I said Aramis over Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant ended up playing a lot of outfield in that 2016 season. I don't know if he quite though.
He did play a lot of right field that year, yeah.
What am I thinking?
No, there's our guy.
Of course. Sammy. Behind the plate, catcher. You got to get someone that can call a good game, but also has some pop. The Cubs have had a lot of good catchers over the years, honestly. Wilson Contreras was a really good hitting catcher. They've had 1,000 good defensive catchers. But, Giovanni Soto's rookie season was pretty good. We'll go with Miguel Montero. He was a very good hitting catcher in his peak season. I'm taking like the peak years of all these guys.
Exactly. You're spot on.
Okay, and then for a starter, my instinct, I want to go Jake Arrieta, but I'm not going to. Jake Arrieta had one of the most dominant runs as a starting pitcher for the Cubs of any pitcher ever. But in this more modern era, in the more recent times, again, there's 1,000 you could go with. You put John Lester on the mound in a big game, and I didn't feel much better with many other guys out there. He just always rose to the occasion, veteran, bulldog. Just like to watch him play. He was great. Really, really incredible pitcher. So I'm going to go with him. And then I think I need a reliever. There's only been 8 million. So, it's like, who do you pick? I'm trying to think of who even was. We haven't really had one of those Eric relievers. You know what I mean? We've had guys we've acquired mid-season like Chapman or Wade Davis had a good run for a while. David Robertson would have been good if he didn't get hurt. It's hard to pick a reliever. Help me out. Is there someone obvious I'm missing? We never really had. Carlos Marmol was crazy good and then crazy bad because he was so wild. So it's hard to narrow that one down. I don't know. I think that's probably more indicative of the lack of shutdown relievers.
We'll put a TBA by your answer.
Yeah, I got through most of those guys. Was that enough for you?
That was great. Okay, great team. I'm good. And I hope our audience will like your choices. All right. Let's talk about the go-to. Is it from your wife? Is it from your mom, Stephanie, who I've known my whole life? Is it a restaurant? But what's the go-to Michael Cerami food where I want this tonight? What's it?
Okay. You know what? Yeah. There's two things my mom makes. And with all love and respect to my wife, I'm the cook in our family. She's comes from a
Tonight's your
different breed.
anniversary. Remember, tonight's your anniversary.
She's from a different breed. She's not
Right.
as Italian as you and I. Um, first of all, it's going to sound cliche, but I assure you it's not. My mom makes lasagna, and it is the best lasagna that I have ever had in the world. Nothing else comes close. It is just the most comforting of comfort foods that exists. And then she makes one other thing that she always does, and I think she would probably laugh and be like, "That's your favorite, really?" But she makes jambalaya, and it is equally awesome. It's like just spicy. It's got the andouille sausage, the shrimp, the chicken. It's incredible. Those are two things that I'm like, I'm feeling sick or whatever, I need to pick me up. Lasagna or jambalaya for my mom that's the way to go.
So I know Steph is going to be watching this with with Sal, that they're going to be watching this, but we're going to call those two meals from now on, Michael, alla vaccaro, her maiden name. Alla vaccaro.
There you go.
No offense to Sal with the Cerami name, but alla vaccaro, so she'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, okay. You've accomplished a lot here. I want you to know. Just very proud to know you and what you've done. I've been watching you for so many years. I was chomping on the bit to get this interview. If you had to do this all over again in this span of 11, 12 years that you've been doing this, are you doing this all over again the same way?
Oh, yeah. I wish I could go back and teach my younger self the things I know now. It probably could have changed a lot. When you're younger, I won't speak for everyone, I guess. When I was younger, even a job I loved like this one, which I do love and did love, it started more as like a job where it's like there's things I got to get done and you get them done and then you move on. Now, whether it's healthy or not, it's become my entire personality. So I take so much more pride in what I do than I used to, which again, I'm not saying I did intentionally bad work or anything, but now it just, if there's a small bug on the website, I take it personally and I need to fix that. If there's something that's not being covered and I turn over my, I'm sleeping, I wake up and I look at something on my phone and it's, 1 a.m. and a trade broke, I'm getting out of bed and I'm writing it up. I think everything about Bleacher Nation and my work reflects on me a lot more than I did when I was younger. And I think that is probably a lesson I'd try to impart on myself if I went back and do it all over again.
Well, okay. I'm going to put you on the spot about something that you don't have to answer. You're just going to have to do. And then I'm going to say something about you and then I'll let you go. But tonight I put you on the spot. If the Cubs tonight get a leadoff homer, Michael Cerami will go jump in Lake Michigan again.
Not again.
March 29th, 2018. Do you remember the moment when he had half before I let you go?
Oh, my God. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, doing it on June 16th probably feel pretty great. Doing it on March in Chicago, woo, that was pretty cool. That was a big moment. For anyone listening who doesn't know what he's talking about, I made a bet with the world, like a dumb young kid, that said if Ian Happ led off the MLB season. It was the first game. They were playing in Miami. It was like an 11 o'clock start time because it was the East Coast. I put that bet out there immediately. First pitch, home run. Yeah, I went straight to Lake Michigan, found a spot that there was no guards or police because it was March, and I jumped in there. My friend was recording it. I posted it, blew up, went viral a little bit. That was a fun one. Never doing that again.
And I got to tell you, Michael, even before I met you, that day I went home and I told my wife, "Did Stephanie's kid just go on Lake Michigan?" Yeah. She goes, "12 Vince, it can't happen." No, listen. I have to tell you this about you. This is coming from me. Just watching you over the years, knowing your family. Of course, I've known me and Dad graduated high school together. Mom graduated with my wife from Mother Guerin. And then, of course, now we live like miles away. I just want you to know your grandpa, who was called Donicio Vaccaro, was very good friends with my father. Him and my father sometimes didn't do anything without each other. And of course, your Nonna, I didn't know grandpa. I didn't know Sal's parents as well, of course, but just a great family. You've been, and I got to tell you something. All these people are looking at you. They're so proud. But if I had to give you a middle name, and this is coming from John Conenna, it would be dedication, because you proved it in this interview today. You are one dedicated young man. I didn't even know what went into this Bleacher Nation. And today you shocked the you know what out of me. I want to thank you for coming on a conversation with John Conenna. This was great.
Hey, thank you so much. And again, I want to just send back all the love right back your way. I'm so happy that I got to sit down and talk to you. We've been circling this forever. I know you and my parents go way back, and I would do anything for you. So next time you need another guest, you call me right back up, and I'm here. We could talk.
Well, because you got to promise me a part two, because we touched the surface today. And again, to our audience, purchase this book, Bleacher Nation. This is my first trip to the Bleachers. I'm sorry. Michael is the man in charge of Bleacher Nation, of course, but this will go out on YouTube and Spotify in about 2-3 days. We have visited today with this fine young man, author, and of course, the proud founder here of this Bleacher Nation. And Michael Cerami, you keep doing what you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, take care.